Lil Dicky. Some of you may know Lil Dicky from his show Dave on FX. Some of you may know Lil Dicky from his presence on YouTube. He just recently dropped the full official album, Penith. I'm going to say that with a straight face, Penith. It's basically a bunch of snippets from the show plus added verses. He just recently dropped the music video for Ha Ha Ha, aka That's a Joke. If you know his show, you know the song. So he dropped that, and he recently was on Flagrant.
There was that stuff with Theo Vaughn. He was upset. Like, how do you deal with something like that?
I'm happy that you brought that up.
Theo Vaughn. He's one of those West Coast Joe Rogan umbrella guys. You know what I mean? I'm old. I know Theo Vaughn from like Real World and like Road Rules Challenge.
I'm Theo, Road Rules Season 9 Maximum Velocity Tour. I've been working as a tour manager, and I've just been looking for girls.
I know him more from that than I do from actual stand-up comedy, but I can't deny the man is blowing up. And basically where him and Lil Dicky merge is Theo Vaughn was on the Barstool podcast.
That's probably stole
People
from him.
steal all my shit. Lil Dicky,
Yeah,
everybody
maybe
steals my
shameless.
shit.
Have you
Lil
told
Dicky
that
steals
story?
your shit?
That
Have
show
you-
steals so many of my jokes.
He said that it's multiple things that they've taken from him, but he presented one thing especially, which was the wooden shirt. If you watch Dave, I believe it's season 2, they have an episode where Dave and Els, his like best friend who's a producer, it's actually played by Taco from Odd Future. They have to take care of Trippie Redd's like nephew or something, or like his little cousin or some shit like that, and they go to a fair and they see wooden shirts and they buy the kid a wooden shirt. Supposedly Theo Vaughn is saying that aspect was taken from him, and they even have receipts for it. There was an episode of Joe Rogan.
One time, this guy made his son a wooden shirt. Did I tell you that?
A wooden shirt.
Yeah, he made his son a shirt out of plywood for Christmas.
What?
Yeah.
You wanted the kid to wear it?
Oh, yeah, he did.
So this is a real thing. And one thing I will say is, you know, I have a podcast with my boy Kyle Glenn. We were talking about Andrew Schultz and Theo Vaughn, actually. So this is funny how this corresponds. But I ended up saying certain things about Andrew.
He is kind of racist, and I think he is one of those dudes who kind of relies on black people to skyrocket him where he was. And all his his only thing is really, you're saying he has a larger audience, but he doesn't. He really has one audience. He has white guys that like black shit, but don't really like black people.
You know, aside from that, I will say, as far as interviewing and what he does on his show, he's good at what he does. I do respect him. I don't necessarily think he's the funniest, but I do respect him as a person, you know? And I gotta say, he had Lil Dicky on and he grilled him as a comic, which is what you're supposed to do.
You guys both had a similar idea in the show, right?
Yeah.
Or he had it in something, and then you had it
on
I
a
guess.
podcast
He said it on a
about the
pod,
wooden
and then,
shirt thing.
Yeah, it was like a wooden shirt, and then you guys had it in the show.
He's, you know, Andrew Schultz is a comedian. Theo Vaughn is a comedian. In a way, we have to protect our own or at least get the full story. And I'm proud of Andrew Schultz for doing that, which he held Lil Dicky's feet to the fire. He held Lil Dicky's to the fire and asked him about the whole thing. And apparently Lil Dicky was saying that he has no idea about this thing. And, you know, things happen in the writer's room. And I think this is a interesting thing because I don't know how I feel. I'll be real with you. I wanted to have like a distinct decision, you know, to tell you guys, but I honestly do not know how I feel about this thing because I'm one of those people where, you know, I've always been raised as a comedian as like stealing jokes is wrong and stuff like that. But at the same time, you know, if two people have similar premises, that's not that crazy to me. And I have, you know, like there's degrees to joke stealing. Like I know a lot of comics who think like if you have the same premise as them, you stole their joke, regardless of if you've ever been around them or not. Like that's how I think petty and I think kind of paranoid comics can be. And I'm not necessarily one of those people who agrees. I even think that you could see somebody have a similar premise, and as long as the premise is slightly off, you're both fine and just live your life. So the whole concept of the wooden shirt thing is a hard thing because it is a very distinct thing. It's like wooden shirt. It's like the average person doesn't think about that, but maybe they just brainstormed it and thought it'd be a funny fucking thing. You know what I mean? A wooden shirt. and just added it, and it just so happened that Theo Vaughn had talked about the wooden shirt thing, or maybe one of Dave or Lil Dicky's writers watches Joe Rogan and saw that thing from years ago and was like, that'd be funny. Or maybe he saw the thing from years ago, didn't remember that he saw it, and he just popped up in his head, wooden shirt, and he put it down there. There's a million different things. So I don't necessarily think anybody's really in the wrong right now or anything, but I think it's just one of those interesting situations to kind of analyze and see, like, what does it mean to have an original idea, especially now that we are drifting to this world of AI, which is essentially plagiarism technology. It's technology that scans the entire internet for the work of others and then creates its own answers or, its own assignments, based off of those past things that it's read. And even AI, is just a artificial version of us. It's artificial intelligence. It's an artificial version of our intelligence. And it's like we all think of our ideas as original, but aren't we just doing what AI is doing at a slower pace? Every movie you've ever seen isn't original. Every book you've ever read is not original. It all comes from different influences, and some people announce the influences and pay homage to that. Other people kind of don't, or may not even fully be aware of the influences until a message board brings it out. Who knows? But I don't necessarily know what's better or worse. I try to show love to the influences that I've had, because I've humbled myself in the realization that nothing is original in any sort of way. And I think if there are any artists watching this, stop trying to be so original and just put out whatever feels good to you. Because I think I've known a lot of great comedians get stuck, mentally blocked on the idea of originality. Let things flow through, man. And if somebody rolls up to you and is like, hey, bro, that's my joke, and they say the joke to you and both sound extremely similar, and you don't want to have it no more, throw it out. Be like, yo, my bad. I had no fucking idea. I had no idea, and do that. That's all it takes. I think a lot of these things that we deal with, right? All this controversy that we deal with all the time, not just celebrities, not just regular ass comedians struggling, but even regular people. I think everything gets catastrophized nowadays because of social media. So everything has to be a conflict, but most things can get solved fairly easily. Oh, I stole your joke. Well, I didn't really steal it because I didn't really know of it, but I'll stop it. My bad. Nigga, that's it. It doesn't need to be this whole thing, man. So I hope people stop taking themselves so seriously, all the time, constantly, all the time. But it's also one of those things where I think because we have such a smaller amount of human interaction that we used to, but we're constantly get thrown these virtual versions of interaction, I think it makes us a lot more sensitive. Our skin is not as thick as it used to be. And a lot of us are pussy, and a lot of us are punks. And a lot of people also don't have any original ideas in any real way. I know I said nothing's original, but there's some niggas who just are not original at all and just straight up steal. And I think that's going to become more prevalent too. So who the fuck knows where we're going?